Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India formulates plan over Indus water treaty abeyance. Jai Shankar, in fact, Jal Shakti Minister vows not a single drop of water will go to Pakistan. Stern action taken following Pahalgam terror attack. Houses of terrorists demolished in Jammu and Kashmir. India's DRDO achieved significant milestone in hypersonic weapon technology, successfully conducts long-duration, active, cooled scramjet subscale combustor ground test for over 1,000 seconds. US envoy Steve Witkoff to hold talks with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi in Oman. Latest meeting will include expert-level talks on Iran's nuclear program. President Draupadi Murmu, along with other world leaders, to attend the state funeral of late Pope Francis in Vatican. India to observe state mourning to mark Pope's funeral. India's Home Minister Amit Shah on Friday held a meeting on how swiftly the decision to hold Indus Water Treaty in abeyance could be implemented and finalized a detailed roadmap. A day after India formally communicated to Pakistan that it was keeping Indus Water Treaty between the two countries in abeyance. The meeting was attended by Jal Shakti Minister C.R. Patil and senior officials. The meeting discussed implementation modalities in view of creating additional water storage infrastructure and also speeding up work on hydropower projects as medium and long-term measures so that waters of the western rivers, Indus, Jhelum and Chenab, can be adequately used by India. Desilting of rivers and dams will be done on priority. It will augment supply of water to Indian side, resulting in slightly lesser flow to Pakistan, which already faces a deficit of 32% in meeting its irrigation and drinking water needs.
हत्या हुई है, धर्म पूछ के हुई है, यह अत्यंत गंभीर प्रकार का एक काम हुआ है, निर्मम हत्या है, पूरा देश कभी नहीं भूलेगा। अभी उनके साथ कोई भी संधि आज तक हुई होगी, उस सभी संधि को रद्द कर देना चाहिए। ऐसा मुझे लगता है सरकार ने जो अभी जल संधि रद्द कर दी है, एक अच्छा डिसीजन लिया है।
India's Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal on Friday assured a smooth Amarnath Yatra, which is set to commence on July 3rd this year, despite the Pahalgam terror attack. Minister Goyal expressed confidence that tourism in Kashmir will resume soon, emphasizing that no one can derail Kashmir from its developmental path, highlighting the region's progress and potential. Registration for this year's Sri Amarnath Yatra began in Jammu and Kashmir on April 15th. The Yatra is set to commence on July 3rd this year, simultaneously from both the routes, the Pahalgam track in Anantnag district and Baltal in Gandarbal district. It will culminate on August 9th on the occasion of Raksha Bandhan. Goyal stated that India has no interest in having trade relations with Pakistan, labeling it a terrorist nation. He said nothing can halt the progress that Kashmir is set to achieve.
मुझे लगता है कि भारत के लोगों में इतना सामर्थ्य है, इतनी हिम्मत है, इतना आत्मविश्वास है कि जल्द ही फिर एक बार पर्यटन वहां शुरू होगा, उद्योग वहां जाएगा, अमरनाथ की यात्रा होगी और कश्मीर जो विकास के मार्ग पे चल पड़ा है उसको कोई रोक नहीं सकता।
Meanwhile, in a significant development following the recent terrorist attack in Pahalgam, authorities on Friday demolished the houses of two Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists in South Kashmir. According to official sources, the house of Asif Sheikh in Tral area of Pulwama and that of Adil Tokar in Bij Behra area of Anantnag were brought down through controlled blasts. Both the individuals are alleged to have played a role in the Pahalgam terror attack. The demolition action comes as part of intensified efforts by security agencies to crack down on those aiding and abetting terrorism in the region. Indian community across the world condemned the April 22nd Pahalgam terror attack and paid tributes to victims of the barbaric attack. The Consulate General of India in Edinburgh held a solemn remembrance ceremony in memory of those killed in Pahalgam terrorist attack. The members of the Indian community in Scotland gathered in solidarity with India and against the scourge of terrorism. The Indian diaspora members also observed a moment of silence, prayed and paid tributes to the innocent lives lost in the Pahalgam terror attack. In Germany, Embassy of India in Berlin also organized an event on Friday in memory of the loss of innocent lives in Pahalgam terror attack. Indian Ambassador to Germany Ajit Gupte addressed the gathering and offered heartfelt tributes to the victims. Representatives of German Foreign Office, Federal Ministry of Labour and Social Affairs, Defence Ministry, members of Diplomatic Corps, including defence attaches, Indian diaspora and Friends of India paid homage to victims and expressed solidarity with India. Members of the Indian community held a protest outside the Pakistan High Commission in London on Friday and condemned the terrorist attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam. Holding Indian flags, banners and placards, the protesters expressed deep sorrow over the loss of innocent lives and demanded justice for the victims. They raised slogans against terrorism and criticized Pakistan for allegedly supporting and sheltering terror groups responsible for such attacks. In a display of global unity and compassion, people at Mahabodhi Mahavihara in Bihar's Bodh Gaya paid tribute to those killed in the Pahalgam terror attack by lighting candles and holding prayers. Let's get to other news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will distribute more than 51,000 appointment letters under Rozgar Mela via video conferencing on Saturday. In line with Prime Minister's commitment to accord highest priority to employment generation, the 15th Rozgar Mela will be held at 47 locations across India. It will provide meaningful opportunities to the youth for their empowerment and effectively contributing to nation's development. The newly appointed youth selected from across the country will join the central government in various ministries and departments. Defence Research and Development Laboratory, that is DRDO, DRDL, is a Hyderabad-based laboratory of India's Defence Research and Development Organization, that is DRDO. It has achieved a significant milestone in the field of hypersonic weapon technology. DRDL conducted long-duration active-cooled scramjet subscale combustor ground testing for more than 1,000 seconds at the newly built state-of-the-art Scramjet Connect test facility at Hyderabad on Friday. The ground test is in continuation of the earlier test reported for 120 seconds in January this year. With a successful test, the system will soon be ready for full-scale flight-worthy combustor testing. The 6th edition of India-Uzbekistan Joint Military Exercise Dust Lake 6 is underway at Foreign Training Node in Maharashtra's Pune. Based on the theme of joint multi-domain sub-conventional operations in semi-urban scenario, the joint drill will enable both the sides to share best practices in tactics, techniques and procedures of conducting joint sub-conventional operations. Aiming to sharpen the operational capabilities of both the Indian Army and the Uzbekistan Army, the exercise will also enhance defence cooperation, further augmenting bilateral relations between the two friendly nations. The joint drill will conclude on Monday. India has declared a 3-day mourning on the passing of His Holiness Pope Francis on April 21st. President Draupadi Murmu is in Vatican City for 25th and 26th of April to attend the state funeral of His Holiness. Our correspondent from the Vatican City, Jayanti Jha, has more on this.
President Draupadi Murmu paid homage to His Holiness Pope Francis by laying a wreath at the Basilica of St. Peter in Vatican City. The President will also be attending the funeral mass of His Holiness Pope Francis at St. Peter's Square in Vatican City, which will be attended by dignitaries from around the world. Over 100,000 people have already paid their respects to Pope Francis, whose body is lying in state in St. Peter's Basilica ahead of his funeral.
All we know Pope Francis, in his heart, we all have a place, and for our nation also, for our people also. He always asks about our people. So, in the name of our Franciscan Conventual Order and the name of who are working here, I extend my kindful greetings to all, and also for our nation.
I'm here to pay respect to Pope Francis because I loved him very much, and I'm very moved about his death, and I want to pray for his resurrection and to thank God that he served us as a Pope.
Now here in Italy, I am 10 years. I am in Italy. Now I came here to see Pope Francis. I'm very glad to see him the last time.
Thousands of people from across the world have gathered in Vatican City to pay their last respects to Pope Francis. India has declared a 3-day state mourning to mark the passing of Pope Francis, a symbol of spiritual courage across the world. Indian President Draupadi Murmu is on a 2-day visit to Vatican City to offer condolences on behalf of the government and the people of India. Reporting from Vatican City with camera person Loknath for DD India, this is Jayanti Jha.
The Israeli army on Saturday said that a missile was launched from Yemen into Israeli territory, adding that aerial defense systems were working to intercept it. In a statement, Israeli army said that sirens sounded in a number of areas in Israel following the launch. Meanwhile, there is no immediate comment from Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthis. The World Food Programme and UN Refugee Agency UNHCR are planning major cutbacks due to a sharp drop in funding, particularly from top donors like the US under President Donald Trump. WFP warns 58 million people risk extreme hunger without urgent aid, with Sudan among the most affected. The agency expects a 40% funding drop in 2025, prompting a focus on critical programs. UNHCR plans a 30% cost reduction, bringing it to half the senior roles and closing some country offices. Meanwhile, WFP announced on Friday that it has exhausted its food supplies in Gaza due to more than 7 weeks of sustained border closures. In a statement, WFP said that no humanitarian or commercial goods have entered the enclave during this period. Iran and United States will meet for the third round of nuclear talks on Saturday in Oman after both sides said that progress had been made in previous rounds. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi arrived in Oman on Friday ahead of fresh nuclear talks with the US envoy Steve Witkoff. The latest round will include expert-level talks on Iran's nuclear program with Michael Anton, who serves as the State Department's head of policy planning, leading the technical discussions on the US side, the department said. Earlier, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi presented his new book, The Power of Negotiation, at the Muscat Book Fair in Oman. Speaking at the event, Araghchi said that the book draws from his personal experience in diplomacy, including key moments from Iran's nuclear negotiations. Let's get to an update on Russia-Ukraine conflict now. US President Donald Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff met Russian President Vladimir Putin for 3 hours in Moscow on Friday to discuss the US plan to end the war in Ukraine. Trump said the two sides were very close to a deal, despite apparent differences in their positions. In a social media post, Trump stated that it was a good day of talks and called for a high level of meeting between Kyiv and Moscow to close the deal. He also mentioned that most key points have been agreed upon and urged an immediate end to the bloodshed. Also, US President Donald Trump on Friday stated that his administration will be reasonable as it enacts the tariffs, adding that he thinks financial markets are adjusting to his tariff policy.
I'm speaking to a lot of people from China, but I'm speaking to people from all over the world on the tariffs, and we're making very good deals. Very good. It's going to make our country rich. We're not going to be ripped off like we have been for the last literally 50 years. No, I think we're going to have a lot of big wins. I don't know if it's going to be covered that way by the fake news, but the wins are going to be very substantial.
A Wisconsin judge was arrested by US officials amid a dispute between the Trump administration and local officials over immigration enforcement on Friday. A Wisconsin judge was arrested and charged with aiding a defendant in evading immigration authorities. According to the U.S. Justice Department, Justice Hannah Duggan allegedly obstructed immigration agents by letting defendant Eduardo Flores Ruiz exit her courtroom through a side door, helping him briefly evade arrest. He was later apprehended outside the courthouse. Meanwhile, following the judge's arrest, Trump stated that the courts are hindering his administration's efforts.
Terrible thing. The judge was arrested because he was housing a trendy Iroquois, right? Is that the one you're talking about? It's pretty surprising. It's terrible. We have hundreds of thousands of people that we want to get out of the country. And the courts are holding us back. Some judge that nobody ever heard of is holding us back. It's very dangerous for our country. I mean, you want to see a country that'll have crime? Let that happen. Because it's really dangerous for our country, and I can't believe the Supreme Court would let that stand.
You're watching DD India Live. We're heading for a short break. Stay with us.
Bharat welcomes the world to a new era of creativity. Waves World Audio-Visual and Entertainment Summit, as Mumbai hosts the global stage for creativity and innovation. Connecting creators through Creatosphere, where emerging voices rise. Wave Accelerator, where ideas meet global investors. Waves Bazaar, a global marketplace for content. Connecting countries through global media dialogue and industry roundtable. Bharat Pavilion, capturing India's rich history of storytelling.
वेव्स के रूप में भारत एक ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म बनाने जा रहा है जिसमें दुनिया के एंटरटेनमेंट लैंडस्केप पर उसको बदलने की क्षमता होगी।
From culturals to cinema, gaming to animation, fueling the next wave of entertainment. Connecting creators, connecting countries. Waves 2025.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live. As part of diplomatic efforts to end violence in eastern Congo, an agreement was signed between Congo and Rwanda in Washington on Friday. As per the agreement, both countries vowed to come up with a draft peace deal by May 2nd and refrain from providing military support to the armed groups. The agreement was signed at a ceremony with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who also signed as a witness. The agreement is expected to bring significant U.S. public and private investment to the region, which is rich in minerals, including tantalum and gold, the final text said. The deal raises hopes that the latest cycle of violence in the decades-long conflict might ease, with both countries hoping to attract significant U.S. investments in the minerals. Both parties also agreed to look into a joint security coordination mechanism to crack down on armed groups and criminal organizations. At least 11 people were killed after a drone strike by the Rapid Support Forces hit a displacement camp in Sudan's River Nile state. The RSF, which denies carrying out drone attacks, has targeted power stations and army-controlled locations in central and northern Sudan for the past several months, but the strikes had not previously left major death toll. The escalation of such strikes, which have hampered the country's electrical grid and plunged millions into weeks-long blackouts, comes 2 years into a damaging war as the army has been pushing the paramilitary force out of the central part of Sudan. Ground fighting in the conflict is now focused in the Darfur region, where the RSF is fighting to seize the army's remaining foothold, driving hundreds of thousands from their homes. There has also been fighting in western Omdurman, part of the capital, where the RSF remains present. There are 28 million registered voters eligible to elect members of parliament in 343 individual constituencies, also known as ridings. Canada has 6 time zones, so voting is staggered to ensure that most people cast their ballots at the same time. Let's take a look at this report on poll process in Canada.
Canada goes to polls on April 28, with polls indicating a close race between Prime Minister Mark Carney's ruling Liberals and the official opposition Conservatives of Pierre Poilievre. There are 28 million registered voters eligible to elect members of parliament in 343 individual constituencies, also known as ridings. The number of ridings has been expanded from 338 since the last election in 2021. Now let's understand in detail the election process. Canada is a constitutional monarchy and parliamentary democracy, rooted in the Westminster tradition. The system involves three main components: the Crown, the Senate, and the House of Commons. Responsibilities for lawmaking are shared among federal, provincial, and territorial governments, with judicial oversight ensuring constitutional adherence. The Constitution governs the roles of the Crown as well as the executive and legislative branches. During a federal election, all Canadian citizens who are at least 18 years old on election day can vote in their electoral district. The ceremonial head of state is King Charles III, represented domestically by the Governor-General. The real power, however, lies with the Prime Minister, who leads the government and must have the support of the House of Commons, Canada's lower chamber of parliament. The House of Commons currently has 343 seats, each one representing a riding or electoral district. Canadians don't vote directly for the Prime Minister, they vote for their local MP. The party that wins the most seats typically forms the government. If they win 172 or more, that's a majority. Anything less, and it's a minority government, requiring cooperation from other parties to pass legislation and survive key votes. Now let's understand who can contest election in Canada. The candidate must be a Canadian citizen and at least 18 years old on election day. The candidate must not be a member of the Legislative Assembly of a province or territory and must not be a chief electoral officer and must not be a judge appointed by the Governor-General or election officer. Also, the candidate must not be imprisoned in a correctional institution. Political parties need to choose candidates to run in an election. As soon as the election writs are issued, each party must decide who will be its candidate for each riding. A candidate can also run for election without being affiliated with a party, as either an independent candidate or a candidate with no affiliation. The right to run in a federal election is protected by the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. In most cases, a clear winner emerges after the ballots are counted, but sometimes the vote count is very close or even tied. If there is a tie or a close vote, the ballots need to be counted again in a judicial recount. A judge presides over these recounts. Bureau Report, DD India.
And now we turn focus to sports. In cricket, Kolkata Knight Riders are all set to take on Punjab Kings at the iconic Eden Gardens in Kolkata on Saturday. With both teams eager to bounce back from the recent setbacks, this encounter promises to be a crucial one in the race to the playoffs. This will be the second meeting between the two sides, and this season Punjab defeated Kolkata in their first meeting, defending the lowest ever total of 111 runs in IPL history. Kolkata have just 3 wins from 8 games and are on a 2-match losing streak. A win at home is vital to keep their playoff hopes alive. Punjab, on the other hand, are placed fifth with 5 wins out of 8 games so far. Swedish pole vault star Armand Duplantis on Friday said that he is not ruling out another pole vault world record on the eve of his outdoor season opener. The Paris 2024 champion snagged his 3rd consecutive indoor title in China a month ago. The 25-year-old set the first of his 3 world records in 2024, clearing 6.24 meters at his first attempt. He has since bettered his own mark to 6.27 meters, set at the All-Star Perch in France. In February, after clearing 6.26 meters in Poland and 6.25 meters in Paris before a rapturous Olympic crown. Organizers of Formula One Spanish Grand Prix in Madrid have unveiled the final version of their Madrid circuit on the outskirts of the Spanish capital. The new circuit will have 22 turns in 5.4 kilometers with an average lap time of 1 minute and 34 seconds. And also the maximum speed of 300 kilometers per hour. Local authorities said that licenses and paperwork were ready from Friday for building work to begin. The construction of the track in an urban area in Madrid's northeast is expected to be completed by May 2026 and will cost $94.57 million. The circuit that will host the Madrid Formula One Grand Prix for 10 years from 2026, called Madrid, was officially presented to the public at an event on Friday. That's it in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.